welcome back to Japan, where I'm going to be doing a reaction and review to Skreen with a K by 8OTTO with an 8? 8OTTO? I don't know. As always, this is the review video. If you want to see the reaction I've just done, pause this video, click the little link in the description below. It'll open a separate little YouTube player where you can see the song if you've never heard it before, along with me reacting, just in case you want to see how my face was affected by the sounds that came from the computer. You done that? You ready? You need to pause this first, because otherwise here comes the review. Don't say I didn't warn you. It's review time. Okay. This one was kind of interesting. I mean, I'm going to lay it straight out from the get-go for anyone who doesn't know. This is a kind of style of music that I have some interesting sort of thoughts towards. I can be sort of, sometimes I can really like it, sometimes I can really dislike it. There is this sort of middle of road rock sound, you know, kind of old school rock sound, which is very popular in Japan. I think probably in other places, but it seems to be there's a lot of bands doing that in Japan. And when it's good, it can be really good. I heard a song by, I'm trying to remember kind of how similar it really was, but kind of another sort of middle of the road rock band sound was when I did my first listen to a band called Baseball Bear recently. And I remember just thinking, this is good. You know, it's like, this is surprisingly good. I love the way they had like two singers and they were bringing a lot out of a very simple formula that you usually wouldn't expect. I often describe this kind of music as having a sort of the jangly guitar sound. This was a little bit more hard edge. It had a little bit more punch to it than a lot of them, but that sort of jangly guitar sound where everything's quite simple. The singer's usually singing in a fairly controlled way, not sort of pushing their voice too much. The beat's usually a fairly simple sort of stomper. You know, there's a lot of bands doing that kind of thing. This one I really liked. Now, this is going to bring me to a bit of a difficult conclusion on this. As always, we're honest on this channel, and I try to admit that as much as I can speak objectively about the technicalities of music as someone who's worked with music my entire adult life, still my opinion is always going to be somewhat subjective, as are rules, which is why at the end, do get in the comments after you've heard my thoughts and tell me what you think. But with this, what I think really worked was that it avoided one of the big pitfalls that a lot of these sort of bands doing this sound often fall into, which is the sort of feeling of, hey, our sound is nice and jangly, therefore let's just kind of bounce along and not really do anything creative. You get that a lot. There are some fairly well-known bands who I'd accuse that of, and there's some bands who've done, I mean, I'd say a lot of this sound was kind of started off originally by bands like Bump of Chicken, but Bump of Chicken were, for the best part, very creative about the way they did it, and I think a lot of bands have sort of ridden that sound, but without the same creativity. With this, I felt that it was just amazing that it kept you on your toes at all times. I pointed out there was subtle things like how the guitar went from sort of held notes to sharp notes here and there. That was kind of like a vocal representation of music, but not quite. As always, perfectly executed. So I loved that there was little things like that. There was little bits where there were shifts up. There were extra sounds added. You know, right in the verses there, you could hear what sounded like, you know, layering of guitar. I don't know how many moves are in the band because you didn't really see the band from what I could tell. Unless that was the band all in a ninja outfit. The way they had the layer guitar, and you had those sort of crazy effects on one of the guitars that made it kind of sound interesting, you know, sort of really thicken up the sound. In the bridge where they were using those little sharp bits of 8-bit, which were very sort of quick there and gone, but that was kind of nice because they were grabbing your attention. The little sort of sound of like a can being hit for percussive reasons. I guess what you say a lot when bands start, you know, when bands first start, you hear a lot of that kind of thing. Oh, let's put a crazy sound in here. Let's just have some weird thing appear suddenly. That's often, a lot of that spark is a lot of how you can tell that a band is new. And a lot of that is what bands lose after their first album or two, when they sort of get into more of a process of doing things the professional way. And they don't have these crazy ideas as much. Not all bands, but a lot of bands. I'm sure you guys can think of examples of this as well. Or they just copy ideas they've done before. And so I don't know how old this band is, how new this band is, but they just kind of had this sort of playful feeling like they wanted to do a sound that I would perhaps describe as not being a sound I'm a big fan of, that maybe is a little bit everyone's doing it, but there was this feeling that they were more creative, that they wanted the song to sound fresh, that there was a sort of attention, a loving attention given to the song, that they knowingly didn't just want to sound like another band. And so to me, yeah, I think this is a song that maybe I'm not the target audience, And yet I get a good feeling from listening to this song of like, yeah, this sounds like something produced by creative people. And so I for me, that's kind of all you really want to hear from music as someone, giving an objective review, is you just want to hear someone putting love into their music. Subjectively, would I listen to this again? I don't think, because like I say, because that sound to me, the kind of guitar-based music, often the sort of guitar-based, if music is primarily based on guitar, the stuff that I most like, I know almost every band has a guitar, but when guitar is really front and center like it is here, the bands I tend to most like tend to be either like the sort of hard rock bands or the sort of lighter stuff where, the more sort of acoustic-y, sort of in the middle, these kind of sounds, like I say, as you can probably tell, not so much my thing. They're like sort of jangle guitar bands. But, would I listen to this again? I probably wouldn't seek it out, but if it came on, I would be really happy. I would. It would be one of those ones where I'd be like, yeah, this is really funky. I remember this. So, and I think as someone who, like I said, I don't think I'm the target audience, I think that's about the best thing you can really say of a song. I just got a very good feeling from this. Now, we do need to talk actually about the video. As pointed out at the end of the reaction, there was a little thumbnail suggesting that we could also listen to their cover of Another One Bites the Dust by Queen, which I'm kind of tempted to do a review of that as well, just out of pure mad interest. But, I noticed that the thumbnail showed that same corridor, so I was like, okay, is this just a format that they've used for several videos? They just sort of like decide to do this just to quickly give nice visualizations so they could put videos up for various videos. Nothing wrong with that. I mean, clearly they were working on a budget when they made this anyway. I actually made a joke music video myself quite a few years ago now, actually about 6 or 7 years ago, where the whole premise was I was sort of showing how can you make a music video with no money and basically using all of the various cheats. And one of them is slow motion. Slow motion passes so much time. You film like 30 seconds of footage, you get 3 minutes out of it. Time killed successfully. And that kind of what it felt like here. It felt like we were watching probably about 20 seconds worth of footage stretched over 5 minutes. And the fact they didn't even use a high frame rate camera, so everything was moving kind of jerky. And like I say, we're taking what was probably in actuality probably looked really cool, but by slowing it down, it looked like a drunk man stumbling around and falling over. So I don't know. I think just looking at the way the video was done, I think that they intentionally were having a giggle when they did this. I think they were looking at it going, this is going to look so bad that it's going to be good. And maybe it does, but I think without really knowing what the intention was, I'm kind of looking at it just like, well, this is weird. And your brain starts switching off after a while, and then you kind of like start looking back at the screen. Oh, he's still there. Oh, was he trying to hang from a light fixture now? Okay. Yeah, so... like I said, I just kind of got a good vibe from all of this. Made me feel kind of positive. Yeah, I certainly wouldn't complain about this one at all. Like I say, perhaps not enough sound that I'm really into that I would actively seek it out, but if someone put it on, I would be happy to hear it. So there you go, there's my opinions. As always, the interesting ones especially is when I say I'm really interested to hear your opinions, but especially when it's something where you guys might have a very different take on it from me, which I think this song might well be one of those ones. So get in the comments, tell me what you think. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say about this one. Good little catchy song, but it's one of those ones. Will it split people? What sort of people are going to be into this? I know our regulars, so I'm interested to see what they think, but also new people who might be able to give a perspective. Maybe you're a fan of the band and you can tell us more from the perspective of someone who knows a lot about the band. Really interested to see what you think about that. As always, likes and subscribes I really appreciate it because it's YouTube. We're a non-monetized channel and, we're seeking to get back all those people we lost the last time we were closed down. And obviously a big thank you as well to everyone on our Patreon, because like I say, we're non-monetized, so you guys literally are the lifeblood of the channel. A big thank you to you for making it through the end of the video. If you want to have more discussion about Japanese music, remember you can follow any of the social medias linked in the description below, where we've got lots of people in our community who are always talking about interesting stuff, and also stuff which is completely banal as well, but you'll get through it. So until I hopefully see you soon for the next one of these from Japan, for now, thank you and ciao ciao.